Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast, a space where we embrace our marks acquired through our journey. My name is Elizabeth Savion, and welcome back to another episode of this podcast. I hope you have enjoyed this month's series all about relationships, talking about different topics. And this week's topic is all about dating in 2022. It was a super fun conversation. And honestly, I laughed so much because she is so funny, Ali. Conti, which she is a celebrity matchmaker for shows like NBC Access Hollywood and CBS's Face the Truth. And she has done a whole bunch of dating, relationship coaching, as well as doing matchmaking. So it was a really good conversation, and I hope you tune in. So let's just get right into it. So very excited for today's conversation with Alessandra Conti, the celebrity matchmaker. That's how she is known, but super excited to have you on. Thank you so much for joining Beauty Marks Podcast.
Oh, Elizabeth, I'm so happy to be here. I'm just so excited to chat with you. I was like, looked through your Instagram and you're just like everything of the sort. And I love everything that you stand for. I'm like, yes, honey. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel the same for your page. I'm like, what? How did I not discover you earlier? I love like social media for that because it connects people and you just get to meet a whole bunch of amazing women and like how people call you. They're like, she's like a girl boss and like she's amazing and just you and your sister and what you do. But for those that don't know you and haven't found you on social yet, can you share a little bit about what you're passionate about and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I own a 10-year-old personal matchmaking firm called Matchmakers in the City. Myself and my sister started it 10 years ago in Beverly Hills. So we started just two old school matchmakers who loved to set up our friends for fun when we were younger. And then we made it into a business 10 years ago. We got our first few clients. We did it right. We got the office in Beverly Hills, and then we just kind of hit the ground running. And we got our first client, and then that really catapulted into now 10 years later, we have a team of 7 matchmakers, which is awesome. And our headquarter offices are in LA and Beverly Hills. And then we also have New York, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. as other service area cities that we work with. We also do work with members nationally and internationally, but like generally LA is like our hub. But yeah, I mean, I think like in terms of what I'm passionate about, like, I know this sounds so cheesy, but I'm passionate about my business. I'm passionate about matchmaking. Matchmakers in the City was such a child. It's like having a child when you have a business that you love and that, has been in my life for so many years. And that's just such a part of my soul and my heart. So yeah, that's just a bit about me. And so now as, a celebrity matchmaker, getting that title it's kind of hard not to work with celebrities when you're in LA, because I mean, everyone thinks that they're a celebrity, even if they're not, like, even if they're like
the blue check, the blue check, yes, they made it.
Yes. Yeah. They made it. They were like on an episode of, one show, which is fine. It's totally fine. But we do work with some pretty big names. And also, I mean, personally, I love working with, the moguls and the people who are just really like doing it in business. Like that to me is so exciting, but the celebrities are really fun too. So, and I get to do all the Access Hollywood stuff. So I'm the kind of go-to celebrity matchmaker for Access Hollywood. So we always do like fun celebrity matches. So anyway, that's where the whole celebrity thing comes from, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm not going to say working with celebrities is not fun, because it definitely is. It's dramatic, but it's
why so dramatic? Are their love lives as crazy as the magazines and everything?
They're worse.
Please tell us.
More crazy. The things that I've seen over the past 10 years are just they're for a movie. I mean, they're made for a movie. It's stranger than fiction. A lot of times people's celebrity crushes, I'm like, oh my gosh, bless her heart. If you only knew the issues that this man has. So yeah, but anyway, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but it's definitely, Yeah. Yeah.
No, I love that because most of us will never experience that side, so you get to work in that in day out. So before we get kind of more into today's discussion about like dating in 2020 two, so what is the traditional, because when people think matchmaker, they're like, okay, like that is ancient times. I've heard people say that, like, what? People still use a matchmaker? And I love how like that's very popular, especially in like the high profile people that you work with and celebrities, and also just business people or just anyone really can use the service. So can you share a little bit about matchmaking, and for maybe someone that's like, oh, okay, first let's talk about that.
No, totally. I didn't even, I think that I grew up watching Millionaire Matchmaker, which may be before your time, Elizabeth. I think it's maybe before your time. Yeah, because when I was younger, Millionaire Matchmaker with Patty Stanger, it was like the matchmaking show, and it was so cool. And she had like these millionaires that she was matchmaking, and that was where me and my sister were like, oh my gosh, this is what we do for our friends, but we could do this as like a real career. So we really got our idea of like, oh, we should start a matchmaking company because we saw it on Millionaire Matchmaker. So all that to say, matchmaking as a whole. So when we first entered the industry about 10 years ago, it was a lot of very wealthy men and very wealthy women that would hire a matchmaker essentially as like a headhunter for their love life. Now, since it's been 10 years, not to say that our clients are not all very successful, but we work with so many young professionals who are just so burned out on the dating apps. And they want that they want somebody to be vetting people for them because their time is everything, right? With the dating apps, it's fine. You can go on a different date every single night of the week, but that is a recipe for disaster because A, it's a paradox of choice. B, which is like a whole other story, but it's just too much. B, the burnout is so real. And C, you don't know what people's true intentions are. And especially on dating apps, anybody can download Hinge or Bumble, and like, sorry, not to like throw them under the bus, but really anyone can. Whereas with matchmakers, every single person that we are working with, we have interviewed, background checked, social media checked, and sex offender searched. And they've gone through, like, they have to get in at our company anyway, 2 matchmakers have to sign off on the match. It's it's a whole process. And we get to know them so much more than just a few photos and like their witty one-liners. Like, we're really getting to know the person and their body language and the way that they speak and what they value. And if they've cheated in a relationship before and when they actually want to get married, like, cause a lot of dating apps, you don't know, somebody says, oh, I'm open to a relationship. Okay, what does that even mean? And like, that's like, you're like, oh, that's the bar. They're open to a relationship. Amazing. But like, no, you need to know, okay, what is your ideal timeline, especially for men? Are you looking to have a relationship that's going to be a girlfriend for the next 5 years? Or are you dating with the intention of marriage? So we get to ask all of those really hard questions that are just so taboo to ask when you're on a dating app or on a first date. So we do all of that. And then, so we have a team here, and then we plan every element of the date. So we have like clients, and then we have daters, but we call our clients priority members. And then we have our database, which are like the basic bachelorettes and the basic bachelors. And from there, we can either match client to client, like, or client to priority member, or priority member to like basic member. And we partner with other matchmakers as well. But then from there, we then set up everything. We plan the date. So all they have to do is just go on the date and see if there's a connection. And if there is, amazing. If not, no worries. Either way, they then have a meeting with one of their matchmakers where they can process everything, regroup. If we need to kind of edit our search parameters, we can. So all of that, it's all a really intuitive process. But yeah, it is something that I think when people don't know about it, it's kind of like, wait, what? But then once people know about it, it's like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And it's like you're hiring just like a team of like fierce, amazing, loving women and one young man on our team who are like looking out for your best interests, like interviewing all these men, like sifting out the, F boys and the, weird guys and all of that so that you can then ultimately meet just the good potential matches for you. So it's really, matchmaking is it's a magical thing. I mean, it's not magic. It's just, we work hard, but like, it's a really good,
you figure out like, and having the expertise, I feel like that's so smart. Like thinking about, okay, if I'm serious about a relationship, I'm going to invest in those things. So like, it is very different from like a dating app that someone's like, just scrolling through. And so that's what leads us to the next conversation about dating in 2022 and like what you have seen. So, what do you feel like is your thoughts on like dating apps and like the dating culture, I would say now that you see a lot?
Yeah. So I do not want to in any way like knock the dating apps horrifically because I think that it's really good to come from that place of supply instead of that place of demand. So I think actually for women in that respect, dating apps are really awesome because you can come from that place of supply and you're not thinking like, oh my gosh, I only have one option and it's this guy that I met at an event or at my church, or like you have one and then you end up fixating and thinking that he's the only man in the world. Whereas with dating apps, you're like, wow, there are so many options. But then with that, if you get too sucked into that, it becomes this paradox of choice where you're then looking for perfection in all of your matches and you're searching for something that is not either. If somebody is dating using the dating apps, kind of looking for that it factor, I get that. I understand that. But the problem is men that are great at dating are usually horrible at relationships. So the men, yes,
that's
men
good.
Men who have these skills that they have perfected that are amazing on dates, so engaging, so blah, blah, blah. Like, you're just like, oh my gosh, we could have talked for hours and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's great. But what is homeboy like in a relationship? So that's the thing. Like, and a lot of those guys are kind of the charming sociopaths or the narcissists who are amazing at dating until they kind of get what they want. And then they either sleep with the woman and then lose interest, or they continue on and then you realize like, oh, this energy is not a pure energy. And like, there's something always happens. Like, I'm always very wary when a woman is like, oh, I'm in love on the first date. I'm always like, I've been doing this for 10 years and it never ends well. Those never
you're like red flag.
Well. Yes. I know.
You're like a red flag.
Totally. So I think that like when a woman is using the dating apps, I try to explain to them to definitely use them. They're not evil. They're not horrible, but really be as picky as possible when you're using them. And I'm not talking about physical appearance. Physical is like, honestly, if they're okay, he's fine. That's good. That's good. But I'm talking about career. Look at what they do. What is their career? Go for this is going to sound like people hate me when I talk like this, but I'm just being honest. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we need the real talk here.
I'm not going to be like, oh, it doesn't matter what they do. No, honey, it matters what he does. Okay. Because if he is in a great place in his career, that is foundational. He's built the foundation of his life. Then he can start thinking about his relationship. Then he can start thinking about building that first floor. Like, the mansion is the goal, but like, then the first floor is that serious relationship, is finding that amazing woman that he can build the rest of the home with. But if that foundation isn't there, don't even go for it. So as horrible as I sound, it is what it is. I always say, like, really look at their profession first. If they do not list a profession on a dating app, don't even talk to them. It's not worth it. Like I'm sorry, it's just not worth it. And look for a profession that you're, oh, okay. Like I personally love matchmaking, the doctor, the attorney, the engineer. I love a stable profession man. I love an entrepreneur, but there are varying degrees. And he may be in the early phases where he can't even think about a relationship because he's so into his company. But go for career first, because that for men, that is their foundation. That is the foundational element of how their identity is shaped. In addition to, like, if you're Christian or even if you're Jewish, like God, their faith, their practice, like those are foundational elements. But a man can be super grounded in his faith, but also not have a job. And just from what I've seen, you gotta have both career and faith. Okay.
Yeah. It's more than just it's definitely, I feel like that's such a true thing. I feel like as you get like older in like your 20s, once like people have either like past that age that they're not in college anymore, it's like, okay, so like, what are we doing here? Like, what do you have? Because that does make them feel secure, because, for guys, it's like, they want to feel stable. They want to feel like their finances, like they can take care of someone after they can take care first of themselves. And that's very different for some women that like see that potential, like, well, one day he's going to be a doctor. Like he's still trying to figure out. So what you're saying is like, avoid those that are like a potential.
I will say, if he's in med school or if he's like getting his JD, that's great. Like I would say, yeah, that's fine. But that's a little different than somebody who's like, oh yeah, I'm kind of in between gigs right now. Or like, I just can't. I'm sorry. I hate to say this, but this is reality.
No, yeah. And it's not, I feel like for me personally, it's not even that they like make the 6-7 figures at that point. It's that they have something established for themselves. So whatever that 100%. Career looks like, it's like, okay, this is like consistent. I have like, my resume is not like jumping jobs every 3 months or every 6 months. So I completely 100%. Agree with you. I'm 100% with that. How about what people, you talk a lot about like how women date and like how we kind of sometimes don't know how to like act on the first date, and we like sign off people because we don't have that spark. And I love what you said, because I literally made an episode about narcissist and like this, and I was like love bombing all of that. But what does that look like for someone that's going into the, to date, that you feel like people should either like green flags, and like, then we can talk about red flags when you're dating?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's, men that when a woman is going on a first date, just generally, just really go in with the intention of enjoying, go in with the intention of having a great time. I call it vacation dating. It's like a vacation dating mindset. Just like pretend like you're literally going on vacation. Like whenever you're going on a date, make a Spotify playlist, get into that mindset, and just go with the intention of having fun, being playful, flirting, just being your bubbly self and not holding back because you're like, oh my gosh, I have to act this certain way. Because when you're your most authentic self, when the ladies listening are the most authentic, then their authentic selves, the guy then can feel like, oh, okay, like she made this goofy comment, like I can relax and be myself a little bit more. So the goal when any woman is dating is to be as much herself as she possibly can, and to not be afraid to be playful and flirt and get in touch with her inner child. There's I love meditation. I'm like on a meditation kick right now, but there are some great just like meditations for just like reconnecting with your inner child of just like, what is that? Who is that? Like, who's your fun element? All of that. Okay. So that's for women. In terms of for guys, I mean, pending that a man has, I always think if a woman is meeting any guy, even if it's from an event or from a group or from a friend of a friend, always get do as much research about him as possible, because it can be scary out there. So first and foremost, do a bit right, like do a bit of research, make sure if you're dating, invest in some kind of background check company online. They're just literally Google background check, and you can put somebody's phone number in there and just see, you can get a lot of information. So before you accept a date, do a little bit of research, because you don't want to end up with somebody who has an extensive criminal record or anything shady. So that's pending that. And also pending that you've already kind of pre-screened for, does he have a job? You know, does he have a career that he's in? Or is he like in med school or getting his JD or like finishing up his MBA? But even then, I think like MBA guys, it can be a little tough because unless they already have a career. Anyway, it all depends on the person. But okay. So for men, I think that there are, in terms of green flags, like on a first date, I would say that he's just not perfect. Like he's not perfectly telling you all the right things. Like if he makes a weird comment, or kind of, if there's like a little bit of nerve there, I think that's a great green flag. And a lot of women will be like, oh, but that shows he's not confident. I want a man who's confident. Blah, 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 blah. But like, no, this is genuine. Like you want a guy that hasn't dated 1,001 women, you know, isn't so practiced, so smooth, knows exactly what to do, exactly what to say. So I think that is like the fact that a guy isn't like so perfect on a first date and can just be relax a little bit and enjoy, that's a green flag. But also the way that you feel when you're with the guy. You know, I remember when I used to date, I would be so like, I did not even think about how I was feeling when I was on dates. I was always about like, okay, I want the guy to like me. I want the guy to like me.
Yeah.
Like, how
do I
like
look? How can I act and everything? Yeah.
Totally. Like, and I was just so caught up in that. But then now I teach to, something changes in you when you hit like in your later 20s, and you're just like, oh, okay, no, how do I feel? Do I feel calm? Am I a little bored? Okay, that's fine. Am I really excited? Am I overexcited? Like, how am I feeling throughout the day? Do I feel pretty? So anyway, those are great. Those are just good things to check in with yourself. But also I really, for men, I want women to not judge men so much on the first date. And to me, the green flags and the red flags come after date 3, date 4, date 5. So I always advise women, unless you're repulsed by the man, do not unless you're repulsed.
So real.
Yeah. Like if you're repulsed, do not go on a second date. There's
never
no
again.
If there's a visceral repulsion that you are having to this man, that's fine. You do not need to go out with him again. You are fine. We can move on. But if you're not repulsed, if you're like, oh, this was a nice guy, like I didn't feel like I didn't want to rip his clothing off, but like he was really nice. Like I had a nice time. Give him a second date, give him a third date, and really lean in and get to know this guy. Let the guy unfold, because truly those men are better at relationships. That's husband material. The men that are not up here all the time, that are a bit more like, oh, you know, a bit more genuine,
calm.
And not,
I've always heard that from a lot of people. And I'm like, so if it feels normal, then I'm probably doing the wrong thing. Cause I've dated guys that are like, give me the high feelings from the beginning.
Yeah. It's just like, and you know what, you don't have to totally not continue with those men, but at the same time, we want to just make sure that you're dating other men as well, because, and also be very observant of their behavior after the third date, after the fourth date, especially as, you know, and I always advise women to not sleep with a guy, until you're in the type of commitment that you want. So if that's, and for a lot of Christian women, they're saving themselves until marriage, which is amazing. I don't coach that, but,
Mm-hmm.
and I respect everything. And I think that's phenomenal and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I always say, like, truly wait as long as possible to sleep with a guy,
Yeah.
as long as possible, because men
Yes.
fall in love in the absence when they're not having sex.
Mm-hmm.
Men then are, and I've had so many male clients say to me, like, if I'm serious about a woman, like, yes, I want to sleep with her, but I also
Mm-hmm.
really want to get to know her. And it's even them aside, like, it doesn't even matter
Mm-hmm.
what the guy thinks. We don't
Mm-hmm.
care. It's about self-preservation. It's
Yeah.
about not releasing oxytocin and this whole cocktail of hormones that you release when you
Mm-hmm.
have sex with a man, that then you're bonded. And then getting off of that bond
Mm-hmm.
is so much harder, and it just takes longer, and it's more emotionally distressing if the guy then, say it's your third date, you sleep with him, great, and then he fades you or he ghosts you or something like that, then it's
Yeah.
traumatizing and it's traumatic, and you just have to go through this over and over again. And you don't have to. Women do not have to put themselves through this. Even if you've been dating for months, just wait as long as possible, because
Yes.
we have to, people unfold, and they can only unfold through time. And then once you're like, okay, future husband, yes, this is him, then great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's shown you like those consistent patterns
Yes.
over time. Like even like I personally, I again like would like to wait for marriage, like, and all of that. But I know that even outside of that, like things that I've researched and even non-religious things say that like the 90-day rule, the 6 months, like all those things are just because people are on such a high and like you really don't see it because like love feels so amazing. Like, in the
Yeah.
beginning, like of all those emotions. And it's true. Like it is sad when like you invest so much and especially like, you feel like so close and maybe they ghost you. It's like that feels like rejection. And
Yeah.
then that can stop you from dating again because you're like, everybody's the same. There's like no good guys out there, which I'm sure you might have heard before. And it does discourage you. So I definitely feel like 100% like making sure to like give it time. And like if they're going to be with you, I just feel like if they're going to be with you and they want to be with you, like what's the matter of like waiting? Like however
A
long that takes for
hundred.
you, like, and respect it. And it also, I feel like shows them that like you have boundaries and respect for yourself. My thoughts, because then you're like,
Yes.
oh, so you're okay. Like you're still going to be around. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
like that's like, I want to
Yeah.
do that with you, but like, I'm going to still
Yeah.
be here regardless.
Elizabeth, 100%. Yeah.
What are your thoughts about the questions that you should be asking? And also the whole like paying, like who should be paying? Because that's like in 2022, that's what everyone's like, independent women. And so I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. So mindset going into the date, like I said, vacation dating mindset, go in to have fun, flirt, just be the best, like be the most fun version of yourself. Just enjoy yourself. That's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Questions to ask, literally whatever brings you joy. Like bring it up. If something brings you joy, and I love especially questions about like childhood, because again, like connecting with somebody's like true self and like their inner child,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much fun and it's so magical, and that's who we really are at our core, like
Mm-hmm.
before all the stuff kind of came onto us.
Mm-hmm.
So asking fun questions, literally like, who's your favorite Spice Girl? Or I know this is not your generation. Oh my gosh.
I
I'm
do.
like, this is
I
like
know the
the,
Spice Girls. I know. You
but
can
like,
ask like,
I
no,
die.
like, do you like Drake? Do you
Yeah. Yeah. Like
like,
exactly.
oh my God,
Like,
different things? I get what you're
yeah,
saying.
totally. But like, what was your favorite TV show growing up? Like, what if you
Yeah.
could be a character? Like, who would it be? Like, who would play you in a movie? Like, fun
Yeah.
questions like that. That not the. I mean, of course, there's always going to be that. Oh, where did you grow up? Oh my gosh! But you can ask like, oh my gosh, like, what was your high school like? Like, was it as like the traditional high school with like all the groups,
Mm-hmm.
or was it more like cool, everyone was friends? Like, what was that like?
Mm-hmm.
Just anything that brings you joy. Travel is also such a great topic, because you can talk about like where you've been, where you want to go. And that's kind of envisioning future and all of that. But so yes, in terms of questions, that is what I would say. Keep it light, keep it fun, enjoy. Like the goal, like I said, enjoy on that first date. And then of course, as you get to know each other, you can get more intimate in the second date, the third date, the fourth date, like fifth date. But goal is to enjoy yourself and get to know each other. Your second question, wait, what was your second question?
So, well, it was about who should pay, like kind of like the wrapping up of the day.
Okay.
For the first.
I am so shook right now because the fact that women are thinking that they should be paying is horrific. Like, I'm sorry. I am so appalled. I'm shocked. I'm appalled. And like, okay. Listen, I am the most independent woman that has ever walked this earth. Like, you know what I mean? Like I am woman, hear me roar, but no. So men always pay. Men always pay. And it's just it is an old school value that can I defend of exactly why? No, it feels icky if you split the bill. It feels very icky. I guess I can defend why, because women bring so much, and women, if they do end up getting into a relationship, Lord knows we will be giving so much. It's the man's job to court the woman, like pursue. The men have to pursue. And so, yeah, I was actually literally just talking to one of our bachelorettes last week about this very topic. And she was like, yeah, like, I don't know why, but like, I keep on meeting these guys and they like, then I ask them if they want to split the bill. And then they say, sure. And I'm like, I can't. But so the problem is, don't even ask, just assume and be grateful, because if literally leave the bill, leave the check on the table. Cause I think a lot of women, like they see the check coming and then they get a little awkward. And then they're like, should I be should I
pull out my card?
No, these men do not pull out your card.
So just wait. So like sit there with the bill there and just like there. We're there.
Feel that tension. And you can even go to the bathroom. If it gets bad, get up and go to the bathroom, honey. Go to the bathroom. Listen, Elizabeth, it's not that women can't afford to get a date. I will also say though, I will also say, if you are revolted by this man, definitely split the bill. Definitely. If you hate this man, split the bill. If you don't like him, if you don't want to see him again, treat him, like if you don't want to see him again, that is fine. Split the bill. But if there's any chance that you want to go out with this man again, don't split the bill. Like he is treating you. He asked you out. He selected the restaurant. He's in charge of the date. And that is such a beautiful dynamic to set in a relationship. Does it mean that the guy is going to be bossing you around? Absolutely not. But it does mean that the guy has an understanding that, okay, my goal is protecting and providing. And that's the man. There's the masculine in the relationship and there's the feminine in the relationship. And if you want to be the masculine in the relationship, totally fine. Then you should play the bill. But if you want to be the feminine, and most women do, except I did have a meeting yesterday with a woman who said she wanted to be the masculine. And I thought that was awesome. In that case, then yes, you should pay for the full bill. Don't just pay for half, pay for the full. But it's that if you want that kind of balance of the masculine, of the feminine, and people hate when I talk about masculinity and femininity, but it's a real thing. And if we neglect that, we're neglecting who we are as women, and we're just neglecting a huge element of ourselves. So yes, ladies, go to the bathroom. And then when the guy pays the bill, it's all about gratitude. Just say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Another thing is like a quick reach. Like if you come back to the bathroom and it's still there, you can be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So it's like a quick reach, but then it's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And use the words, thank you. You're such a gentleman. Thank you. You're such because we're implanting. a lot of these men, they need a little bit of training, a little bit. And you say, thank you. You're such a gentleman. And then he'll know, oh, she thinks a gentleman. Okay. Like men are like,
like brownie point. Yeah.
Gentlemen. Yes. Okay. Pavlov dog. Like, yes.
Oh
treat.
my
Amazing.
goodness.
And just be grateful and saying like, that was so generous. Like this meal was so incredible. Wow. I just thank you so much. That was so sweet of you. And they'll be like, of course, you know? So
yeah. So it helps them, like we allow them to be a man and allow them to like treat us in that way. Like I love how you talk about too, is like letting the masculine energy, like letting them be that part if that's what you want to look for too. So like not always like even I heard you say like letting them kind of like pick the spot, like you not always kind of like initiate, because that's like how a lot of women are. It's like, oh well, he didn't say a place, so like let me just suggest. But your suggestion is like, no, let them plan.
Let him lead. Let him lead. Let him lead. Let him lead. This is 3 words that will change your dating life. Truly. Let him lead. Let him lead. Exactly. And then if the guy's like, I don't know where I want to go. Where do you want to go? I mean, I will, and listen, I will say some guys need a little training, and that's also, it's fine. It's fine. But you tell them, you express to them once, you say like, oh my gosh, there's nothing sexier than a man with a plan. Use that verbiage. And then they ingrain that. And then if they don't, they're not the one for you. But if a guy you're texting with him, he's like, oh, where do you want to go? You can be like, I am so open. I would love to hear. I'm horrible at picking out places. You go for it. And then I don't know the area. Google, there's a place, it's called Google, and you can use it. Honestly, if he says, I don't know the area, don't go on a date with him. Like there are certain things I'm so cutthroat about. And there are other things that I'm so like, I'm more lenient about, because it's like, oh, this is a good guy. But no, that's just laziness. Like go down Google and pick a spot and make a reservation.
Look at the reviews. It's not that hard. I love this like real conversation, because I feel like those are like the things that like women don't know, and you hear all this different advice and you're like, okay, like I need to show him I'm independent, but then I need him to step up and plan. Yeah. Like so many things that we have like mixed signal. And I honestly, sometimes I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? You talk also about like the whole independence. Like, do you feel like that energy intimidates a man when you're like, when it's kind of like we give off the energy, like, I don't need anybody. Like I can pay for everything. Like kind of like, yeah, it's like an energy that we give off. And I know that I have been guilty of it in the past.
No, I hear you. I think that it's more about just getting ourselves. That's why like for vacation dating mindset, like I am such a believer, but also it's also getting into your feminine energy just before you go on a date. So it's just remembering that like, oh, I don't have to be at work right now. Like I'm not at work. I'm in my dating and in my personal life. So I'm going to flip that work switch off and flip my vacation mode or my feminine energy mode on. And I can then like remembering who you enjoy being like, oh, I'm, when you're getting ready and when, oh, I'm just, or like listening to music, oh, here we are. And just in that headspace, as opposed to kind of going in like a bulldozer being like, not that a lot of women do that, but sometimes it can give that energy off. So I don't think that, I think that, there are certain men that are just not cut for like, being with a woman who has a career and all of that. Totally. But I also think a majority of men, it's when a woman is kind of taking the reins of doing all of these kind of traditionally like guy things that a guy, that it's okay to let him do it. It's just, but as even the words, let him lead, that's still, you are making that decision. It's a choice. So it's not saying he has to lead. It's like, no, you're letting him lead. You're letting him open the door for you. You're letting him, I even tell women if they have a hyper, like amazing at work and all of that and have more of that energy, which I have a lot of times, which I have to like, when I'm with my man, I just take a moment. I'm like, I can be I can be Allie right now. Like, I don't have to be Alessandra Conti, celebrity matchmaker. I can be Allie. Like, I can be like, oh, I can relax. Like, oh, he's a juju. Oh,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like, we can be in that mode and in that mindset, and that's good. But yeah, so I definitely I feel like I'm just kind of rambling right now, but
No,
I
those
think that
things help. Yeah. Like
yeah,
to let them have that, but also like us kind of like having a calm, like relaxed
yeah,
approach to dating.
totally. And just remembering that, you know, that if we can allow him to do little things for us, he'll feel like he has a place in our life. You know, so even if, yeah, you don't need a man, like you don't need, you know, but you would like one. And you would like
Yeah.
one who makes you feel safe and comfortable and feminine and all of that. So you can allow him to try to do those things for you by letting him do those chivalrous things of opening the door and, you know, just letting him lead, standing back and like letting that door open. And, you know, when the check comes, letting him pay, you know, letting him walk you to your car, just allowing guys to do things for you. It's very actually independent, but it's also, it's you're taking ownership that you're letting them. It's a choice, you know?
Yeah. You speak a lot about like dropping the hanky too, like, but also like affirming them of what they do. And like you said that earlier, like not the whole dog thing, but it's kind of like the treat as they're going through. How can you get to like the second date? Because I know that some people are like, okay, I had a good time, but how can I like move forward and let them know without being like too much, like without, you know.
Totally. I've been doing this for so many years. And a lot of times, if a guy doesn't want to go on a second date, it's because he doesn't think that the woman is interested in him. So a guy is going to, if you tell him, like, oh my gosh, I had such a good time. You're such a gentleman. Like, let me know. Like, let me know if you want to do this again. This was so much fun. Like, I'd love to go out with you again. Let me know. You can literally at the end of the date say, yeah, text me for sure. When you get home, he'll a lot of guys will be like, text me when you get home. You can be like, I had so much fun. You're like, you're awesome. Just something affirming to the guy. And really, I think like during the date, just being playful, being flirtatious, having fun. Like it's the guys are so much easier, you know, than we give them credit for. So many men that come to me, they say, I just want a warm, like sweet and like intellectual and an interesting woman, but somebody that's going to like see what I'm bringing to the table and like affirm that. And I'll obviously affirm it to her too. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of letting them know that I had so much fun. I'd love to do this again. Like, let me know. Balls in your court, you know?
Yeah. And then they can feel like, okay, so she does like me. Like,
yeah,
like this is like a mutual thing. Cause I know that them also reaching out and wanting to hang out with you is like their attempt to like, hey, like it's still coming from them, which I definitely think that men should pursue women. But you also talk about a lot of like where can you find good men? And a lot of people are like, where are the good men out there? I don't see them. Where do I go? Especially with COVID, like it's hard. The dating space has changed a lot. So what are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I mean, men are everywhere. Like I really, I love to come from the abundance mindset that there are just so many great guys truly everywhere. Um, and I think as a matchmaker, I'm also hypersensitive to this because I'm always on the hunt for like great men to introduce to the clients that I work with. So, I mean, there are so many different events that happen in every city. Thank God that now COVID is kind of dissipating a little bit, but really for anything that you could even remotely have an interest in. There are sports leagues that you can join. I hate sports, but I joined a sports league when I was single and I met some great guys. I didn't ultimately find my partner there, but like I still met a lot of really great guys and it was
You're
like
this
all
is
men.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Like bowling leagues, like that's great. Like I again, not for me, but also, I mean, truly going to any event, everything from especially in the Christian community, there are so many different events that are happening all the time. Even if it's like a Bible study, just going and then getting invited, even if it's just a group of girls, awesome. Then one of the girls might invite you to their birthday party. Then you go to the birthday party, or like, I mean, I know in LA, like there are certain spots, like there's this great, I mean, there's some great places where you can go that are like bars or like wine bars or whatever. And people are just there and they're there to mingle and meet people. So that's always good. Like going out is always fun, but actually being open to meeting men and like talking to them and smiling and like just opening to them, like dropping, like it's literally just either like making an indirect comment. That's really what it is. Like just making an indirect comment, get into a conversation, even if you're not in love with the guy. But yeah, so there are, I mean, also, I know with COVID, it's a little different, but like lines are a single girl's best friend. Anytime you're in line for anything, try to situate yourself that like, oh, let me look at the line. Okay, guy, let me go up. But you know
like, there I go.
Yes, there I go. But really anywhere. I mean, I elevators, like they're just, men are everywhere, it's just a matter of put your phone down, look up, and you'll start seeing them and go out.
So are you supposed to like initiate? Because that, I feel like for me, it's funny because, like the other day, this is like happened randomly. This guy, I was like walking out of a restaurant. The way that it was positioned, it was just not the best moment, but I was walking out of a restaurant, going to my car. It was like raining. And this guy's like, hey, and it scared me. So I'm like it startled me. And I'm like I thought he was going to mug me. Like, this is like women in America.
Yeah, it is.
You're just on alert. And so he's like, I'm so sorry that I scared you. He's like, I just wanted to tell you, like, wow, you're so beautiful. Like, can I give you my number? Like that in the parking lot, like in a very popular area. But it like startled me so much.
I would say beware of that guy. I don't know. I get red flag.
I think so too.
That's
but
horrible.
Then it's happened. But then it's happened.
That's horrible.
But it's happened at like a coffee shop and a restaurant. Yeah. And there's some times though that I feel like it's like, I don't know. Like, it's like, should I be open? Should I not? So it's kind of like, how can we be open to
be open?
Things?
No, I love that. Be open. I sound like such a cynic. I'm like, oh, meet men everywhere. And then I'm like, oh my God, red flag. I didn't talk to you. I'm horrible. Worst advice though. I know. No, I mean, this is the thing. I think that, I think obviously it varies, and get the vibe, get the energy of the guy. If he seems super creepy and like he does this a lot, then no. But like, obviously, exactly. Give him a shot, like, and make sure give him your number, but he'll send you his and then do a little background check on him. But no, I mean, I think that I love a meeting in person. I think when a man, when a guy says something physical, that kind of kills me, but guys don't know any better. So we have to give them a little bit of grace sometimes. If they do are just taken aback by your beauty, which obviously who wouldn't be? So yeah, I mean, I love it. I like a coffee shop. I think that's really cute. And like, I mean, listen, give these guys a shot. Like, obviously you're doing something. And also if you even just like smile and make eye contact, it goes a long way. Like it goes such a long way. So clearly you're putting out energy, like you're putting out really good energy. I'm sorry I poo-pooed that guy initially.
No, I thought it was a creep. Like I was like, so my sister was like, okay, but how would you have said like yes to that? I'm like, I don't know, maybe if he was in the same restaurant that I just got out of and he like came up to me. I don't know. It's just like the weird, like it was like raining and it was like it just scared me. Yeah. And I was like, my self-defense was like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So I just wasn't as open. But I know like at the gym, like people talk about that. Like you can meet people at the gym, people at events, and like just trying to like look like happy and approachable and all that stuff. So what are your last thoughts on dating in 2022 really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think get out there. Apps are fine. Use them sparingly for men with great careers. And also who share faith and all of that.
How can people connect with you and learn all about what you're doing?
Yes. So my Instagram is at Matchmaker Alessandra Conti. So just put at Matchmaker AL and then I'll pop up. And then you can go on www.matchmakersinthecity.com to apply for membership with Matchmakers in the City to be matched by one of our matchmakers.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was great. I'm so thankful for having you, and I'm sure that you helped someone today.
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth.
So thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. It was really fun and I laughed so much, and it was just like a practical things that you can do in your everyday if you are single and ready to mingle and in that journey for yourself. This is just like that extra push that maybe you needed, or those extra tips that you needed for yourself. I love how she said, and like I was like, that's so true, like that men that are good at dating are usually bad at relationships, and then men that are bad at dating are usually good in relationships. I was like, makes sense. Thank you so much always for your support. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast. Follow me at Elizabeth Sabby on Instagram and Facebook. And I will see you guys next week. I hope you have a great one.